All right, folks, brace yourselves because we have some extremely important breaking news, which is hilarious, ironic, and a potential game changer for the 2026 midterms. And that news is this. The new voting maps that Texas gerrymandered on Donald Trump's orders have been blocked by a Trump-appointed federal judge. A Trump-appointed federal judge just blocked the voting maps that Texas gerrymandered on Donald Trump's orders, and MAGA is losing its shit. Which means it's possible. I'm not saying this is likely. It's possible because, of course, this could be overturned. But the punchline is this: Donald Trump may have started a gerrymandering war that he may very well actively lose now because a Trump-appointed judge has blocked these voting maps, and it could cost him the 2026 midterms. You can't make this shit up. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video, do you want to support the channel? Please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Okay. So again, I want to be clear. This could be appealed. This is going to be appealed, and it could be overturned on appeal. I cannot stress this enough. But for right now, let's bask in the hilarity, the irony, and the schadenfreude. Okay, as Democracy Docket, which is an outfit led by Mark Elias, as they write, federal court blocks Texas gerrymander for 2026. Appeal expected. A panel of 3 federal judges has blocked Texas from using a new gerrymandered congressional map in the 2026 election, dealing a significant blow to Donald Trump's national effort to rig the midterm vote by creating more Republican congressional seats at the expense of minority voters. In a scathing opinion, Judge Jeffrey Brown, a Trump appointee, gotta love that, wrote that the Republican attempted redistrict was not just about politics. Rather, quote, substantial evidence shows that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map. Brown opened his opinion with a quote from Chief Justice John Roberts. Quote, the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. Judge David Guadamera, an appointee of President Barack Obama, joined Brown's opinion. Judge Jerry E. Smith, who was appointed by President Reagan, will file a dissenting opinion. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has called the ruling, quote, clearly erroneous, asserting that it, quote, totally undermines the authority of the U.S. Constitution. He said the state would appeal the case to the Supreme Court. Texas Democrats were quick to react to the ruling. In a statement, Texas House Minority Leader Representative Gene Wu praised the court for stopping, quote, one of the most brazen attempts to steal our democracy that Texas has ever seen. Quote, Greg Abbott and his Republican cronies tried to silence Texans' voices to placate Donald Trump, but have now delivered him absolutely nothing. The governor delayed relief for victims of the July 4th flooding in Kerr County, weaponized law enforcement against us, filed frivolous lawsuits to intimidate us, and still lost. So, Ken Martin, the chair of the National Democratic Party, also weighed in. Quote, these maps were only introduced in the first place because Trump and his Texas Republican allies are afraid of facing voters after the passage of their big ugly bill. They expected Democrats to roll over, but instead, Democrats in Texas across the country rose up and fought back. In his opinion, Brown cast doubt on the Republican narrative about the motivation for the gerrymander. In particular, he slammed several Republicans who testified during the 9-day hearing, finding that mapmaker Adam Kincaid and State Senator Phil King, who led the Senate's Redistricting Committee, were not credible witnesses. Brown discredited Kincaid's testimony that he had drawn the 2025 map, quote, blind to race, writing that he found it, quote, extremely unlikely that the mapmaker could have created congressional districts with that specific racial makeup, quote, by pure chance. The judge also pointed to troubling discrepancies in Kincaid and King's testimony, particularly how the two men recalled their conversations differently. Quote, the number of inconsistencies regarding potentially critical exchanges between the chair of the Senate Redistricting Committee and the person who drew the map makes us doubt the veracity of Chairman King's testimony, Brown wrote. Quote, for the foregoing reasons, we do not credit Chairman King's testimony about the legislature's motives. States typically redraw maps each decade when a new census data is released, but Texas began this summer's unusual mid-decade redistricting after pressure from Trump to give the GOP 5 more seats in Congress. After lawmakers drew a new map that dismantled 5 Democratic districts, minority voters and voting advocates quickly filed a challenge, alleging that the map discriminated against black and Hispanic voters. The GOP's gerrymandering efforts have since spread beyond Texas, with the party positioning itself to pick up one more seat in Missouri and another in North Carolina, my state. And Trump continues to pressure Republican lawmakers in several other states to redistrict. Meanwhile, Democrats could gain 5 seats in California after voters approved a plan to redraw the state's congressional map in response to Texas. And it goes on and on and on like this. As a result, lawyers for Texas argued that the state stole congressional seats from Democratic voters, not specifically from minority voters. That's their cope. Like, hey, we didn't do this on race. We're just screwing over the Democrats, not specifically black people or other racial minorities. And it just goes on and on and on like this as well. Love this by Democracy Docket, which you should check out. Now, people have asked, well, Proposition 50 was initially proposed with a contingency language about, we're only going to do this if Texas does this. So if it's blocked in Texas, will Proposition 50 in California end? And Paul Mitchell has pointed out on Twitter, no, this doesn't undo Proposition 50. The trigger language was removed in the legislative process as it was clear that Texas was redistricting. So even if their map is invalidated/postponed, the Prop 50 maps stay in place. Now, again, before we look at the delightful rage from MAGA and marinate in their anguish, we have to remember a couple of things. Number one, the Trump Justice Department is suing to overturn the Proposition 50 maps. They may be successful. I don't know. They may be. Number two, this particular ruling by the 3-judge panel, again, 2 voting to overturn or block the maps, one of them a Trump appointee, that may be overturned by the Texas Supreme Court or by a circuit court. All this could happen. It could happen, okay? So with that in mind, it's funny to think that Trump started this gerrymandering war and may ultimately lose it, not just because of his disastrous policies and creating dummy mandering, where you gerrymander so obviously that you dilute the partisan advantage you have, and in a blue wave election, they just might lose outright. But he could also potentially lose this because the Texas maps just might be outright overturned. That's hilarious and ironic. So let's look at the public reaction. You know what? I'm going to refresh, too. Let's get some fresh rage from these people. Nick Sortor, who is a Trump occultist. A federal judge has just blocked Texas from implementing their new congressional maps, which could add 5 Republican House seats. California is being allowed to get away with it. This judicial tyranny must end. It was a Trump appointee, you moron. And again, the California maps may get struck down. Let's see here. James Tallarico, who is a Democrat from Texas, he's running actually for the Senate in 2026. He goes, my fellow Texas Democrats and I broke quorum to shine a national spotlight on Trump's redistricting power grab. We inspired other states and millions of Americans to join the fight. Moments ago, a federal court struck down his rigged map. This is why we fight back. Let's see. I want to see some rage, people. Okay, LOL. Adam Carlson pointing out that, again, Judge Brown was appointed to the U.S. District Court by Donald Trump. It's just so funny. Let's see. Give me the rage, people. Give me the rage like Nick Sortor. The right sends prudent jurists to the courts because they think it will serve the Constitution and the country. The left sends soldiers to the courts because they want to destroy the country and the Constitution. One side wants to win. So that's Oilfield Rando, very upset. Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump and Greg Abbott played with fire, got burned, and democracy won. This ruling is a win for Texas and for every American who fights for free and fair elections. Okay, I got to see how people are responding to him. LOL, you literally push millions of dollars on a proposition in California to do the exact same thing. Let us see if you're saying the same thing when your new maps are thrown out. And again, they might get thrown out, but I think it's totally fine to smugly mock the people who started this fight for then losing it, at least so far. That's funny. Let's see. Oh, man. This is what happens when you cheat and get caught, indeed. I love it. Actually, 2 federal judges. Greg Kazar, who's a Democratic congressman, is commenting on this as well. Ooh, Timcast, they're upset about this. This is Tim Pool's news. So funny. Oh, okay, Andrew Follett, who I believe, is he Turning Point USA? Oh, National Review. Okay. Democrats currently enjoy very favorable maps. No federal judges care. New England states vote about 40% Republican, and the region has zero GOP U.S. House members. Republicans send fair-minded judges to courts because we're good. Democrats send partisan hacks because they're evil. Oh, you're so mad. I gotta favorite this because I have to mock him later. Assuming Republicans appeal this, Texas redistricting could soon end up in the Supreme Court. A radical activist judge just struck down Texas's 2026 congressional map, forcing the state to revert to the old maps that favor Democrats. And saying it doesn't favor Democrats. Texas was already gerrymandered, but this guy's upset that the radical activist judge is a Trump appointee. So good. So, their despair pleases me. It amuses me. It will almost certainly be overturned on appeal. These maps aren't a racial gerrymander, but Republicans should use this as opportunity to block California's maps since they were predicated on Texas redrawing their maps, and that is now suspended. Again, the triggering language was removed. And again, I just want to be clear. It's entirely possible this is overturned on appeal, but in the meantime, we will delight in their despair. Let's see some more. Let's see. The Democrat, the DCC, the DCCC responding back with a picture of Hakeem Jeffries. This is good shit. I'm definitely going to keep monitoring this. Like I said, watching MAGA freak out about it is really funny. Again, I want to temper expectations. All this could be overturned. California's could get blocked. Texas's could prevail. Both could get blocked. Both could prevail. Just want to set the expectation. But right now, a Trump-appointed federal judge overturned Trump's gerrymandered Texas maps, which started the whole gerrymandering war, which now Republicans may very well lose. Gotta love it. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.